Five, four, three, two, one. We are live. It is 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on August 26, 2022. And the title of this is YouTube Learns a Lesson. What's the lesson, YouTube? Now, you hold all of my lives, so they have to be reviewed by a human person anyway, with a provocative title such as this and using your own logo in the thumbnail. I bet you're going to pay attention to this one. Well, maybe you'll pay so much attention that all folks are going to get is they'll see the red line. Sorry, this channel doesn't exist anymore. Anyway, you're going to learn a lesson from your own instructional materials, because I just keep getting from you guys when I put in for the counterclaims, dear Foodie Booty Reaction Channel, thank you for your counter notification. Unfortunately, it's unclear to us whether you have a valid reason for filing a counter notification, so we won't be able to honor your request. Well, that's weird because my channel has taken 3 hits. The first 2 hits added up to 1 copyright strike. Of course, 3 strikes and you're out. And I put in for 2 counterclaims and they were both accepted. And I said, I'm standing on fair use. And you accepted them and you sent them to the claimant. It's either Chantel or, as I'm being told, it's Nader El Shami. It doesn't matter which one of the two it really is. You forwarded my standing on fair use to the claimants. And now they have to decide if they're actually going to bring a lawsuit or you're going to reinstate my videos, which is what should take place. And then I put in for the third one about 6 times now. No, it's not about 6 times. It's been 5. And this will be the 6th. And so I got again today from you guys. It's unclear to us whether you have a valid reason for filing a counter notification, so we won't be able to honor your request. And it goes on to say that counter notifications are only used when content has been removed as a result of a mistake or misidentification, which may include exceptions like fair use. And it's odd to me that you reply to me and you talk about fair use when fair use is what I said in the first place. And the first 2 times I said it, you forward it to the claimant. Now they got to either sue me or the videos go back and my channel is safe again. Should I mention here that I've been paying for YouTube Premium for years? Why don't you check the records? Yeah. So what we got here is your own video on fair use. So the team YouTube that keeps replying to me doesn't seem to know anything about fair use. So the 6th time that I'm going to put in for this third counterclaim, to make it easy for you guys at Team YouTube who find it unclear, I'm going to say, I'm standing on fair use. Here's a link. So I'm making the video now. Then later on in the day or tomorrow, after this video gets published, I'm going to take the link to the video I'm making right now with your own instructional footage, along with me explaining it for you. And I'm going to say, here's a link. And then when you click it, Team YouTube, you'll come over there and then you'll see me. And we'll go through this together, okay? All right. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Hi, I'm Sari.
Hi, Sari. Thanks for showing up. We're going to learn a lot today.
Here to answer your copyright questions. Today's topic is fair use. First, what is fair use? Fair use allows you to reuse copyright-protected material under certain circumstances without getting permission from the copyright owner.
All right. Basically, the example that I use is that it's anything that doesn't involve, say, running the latest Spider-Man movie in its entirety and just saying, well, it's fair use. Or let's say running 95% of it and including the ending and go, well, that's a movie review. So you are allowed to do it. Great. We're making progress, Team YouTube. I can't wait for you guys to see this after I'm done producing this. Let's go, Sari.
Fair use is an exception to copyright law and is not determined by YouTube.
Thank you. I wonder if you could say that twice, that fair use is not determined by YouTube and that, we have a judge figure it out, because that's what I did with the first 2 hits on my channel. And I've had this channel for more than 2 years, which is I said, I'm standing on fair use. You forward it to the claimant. And now the time is ticking away that they've either got to show you proof of a lawsuit or you put the videos back on. So I gave you guys the same wording for the 3rd time. And now you're sending me the message that thank you for your counterclaim. It's unclear. We don't understand. So I hope that with the use of your own policy, we can make it clear. And it's not determined by YouTube. It's determined by a court. So I welcome, as I've told you guys in my correspondence, I welcome any lawsuit from Nader Al-Shami or Chantal Sarrault. If it's really her doing it, and I think it is, they can bring their claims because we're all in the same country, all right? It'll be very easy for them to sue me. And because you force me to give them my real name and address, they can find me and sue me, okay? So as long as you don't determine it, and we're all in agreement here that we'll let the courts determine it. If Nader and Chantal are smart enough to put a claim together, then we can just let the courts figure it out, okay? However, as we get further on into your discussion, I'm going to show you that we already have laws in Canada which protect me and what I'm doing. So yeah, fair use is not determined by YouTube. Thanks, sorry. Let's keep going.
Let me say that again. YouTube does not decide what is fair use and what isn't. Only the court.
Look at that. It's a cartoon of a judge at a court. I don't think that's a depiction of Judge Judy because she did that show after she retired. So it's still just a picture of a court and there's a little gavel there and everything. So I guess that means go to court, guys. And that's all that I'm saying. Yeah. It's Nader Al-Shami, who can barely speak and read and write English, can put together a claim. I'm happy to have it. And you forced me to give him my real name and address. So let's get started, right? So you can just forward my counterclaim and he can bring his lawsuit. Of course, he won't because Canadian law upholds me and my right to have a review and criticism of the material. Anyway, thanks for putting up that little cartoon of the judge. I get the point. Yeah, go to court, guys. So just take my next counterclaim and forward it to the claimant, and then we can go to court.
Can do that. What counts as fair use? Different countries have different rules about when it's okay to use material without the copyright owner's permission.
Great, thanks, sorry. Different countries have different rules. Now, there are going to be helpful links, Team YouTube, in the description. One is going to be for the Canadian Copyright Act, which is a little dry. And then the other one is going to be about fair dealing, which is a portion of the Canadian Copyright Act. Now, if you'll just let me slide over to my other browser, I'll give you some quotes. Okay, in the description, you're going to find first the Canadian Copyright Act, Team YouTube, and you can consult with that. Then you can consult with the Canadian Copyright Act with Fair Dealing Explained. Let me bring that up. Now, on that link, you can read what is fair dealing. Fair dealing is for everyone. You're probably making use of fair dealing every day without even realizing it, whether emailing a news article to a friend, using a clip from a song, using a copyrighted image on social media, or quoting passages from a book when writing an essay. Activities such as these are not considered to be copyright infringement. In fact, the ability for users to make copies for specific purposes is an integral part of the Canadian Copyright Act. It goes on to say, the Canadian Copyright Act allows the use of material from a copyrighted protected work, literature, musical scores, audiovisual works. Let me stop there. Audiovisual works means videos, like on YouTube. Yeah, it's included. And then they go on to say, etc. So pretty much everything. Without permission, when certain conditions are met, people can use fair dealing for research, private study, education, parody, satire, criticism, review, and news reporting, close quote. So that includes parody and satire. That's like the comedy that we do here. Chantal's got a channel with which she does marijuana all day long. She pretends to be bringing criminal charges for having been raped and assaulted and forcibly confined, and there's no court paperwork, and then she says she dropped the charges. Well, that's actually a crime. You can't bring false charges against someone without getting charged yourself, and there's no court dates, and it's all just live action role playing, right? And Nader Al-Shami is a jackass and sits around, smokes cigarettes all day, and he pretends to fight with Chantal. And actually, what he does is a hate and bullying channel. What she does on him is a hate bully. Anyway, they don't report each other, so they stay there. So when we make fun of that crazy stuff, that's parody and satire and criticism. And it's popular because there's other channels such as Yaba and French Fried Girl. One's in the United States, one's in Canada, and they use that footage all the time. And guess what? It's allowed. Yeah, it's just that they make a whole lot more money than me, and they kind of stick with the live action role playing as if it was real. And so I tell the truth, and so my channel's in trouble, right? Okay, so those are the two links. The Canadian Copyright Act. Let me just shut that one down because you've got that. And I've explained the fair dealing. There's a lot for you to read there if things are not clear. And let's get back to my other browser. And let's keep playing what you have here. Different countries have different rules. Yes. And that's what the law is here in Canada. And remember, Team YouTube, I know it's a team, right? Because it can't just be YouTube guy or YouTube person. It's got to be at least two people to be Team YouTube. Let me check the emails you keep sending me when I put through my counterclaims. Oh, it's the YouTube team. I'm sorry, it wasn't Team YouTube. It's the YouTube team. So you've got a team there. There's at least two people. So read those links and you'll understand that different countries have different rules. These are the rules in Canada. This is why Nader El-Shami and Chantal can't bring claims against me. They're just abusing the whole dang system, okay? So please take my next counter notification and forward it to them. And I hope you do, because I'm sharing with you the data from your own instructional video. Let's keep going.
In some countries, it's not even called fair use. For example, in the UK, it's referred to as fair dealing.
Yeah, and you don't mention Canada because I guess for most things we don't matter. As it said in the South Park movie, it's not a real country anyway, and we have the Queen of England on all of our coins. It's embarrassing. However, we are British-based, and here it's also called fair dealing. Not that you care one way or the other, because you won't let me put through the counterclaim and, confront Nader and Chantal and say, well, it's fair dealing law in Canada. Go sue him. Stop bothering us. So maybe now you've learned a little bit more.
Aside from what your country calls it, courts usually focus on whether your use of another person's song or video is transformative.
Yes, you might notice the name of the channel here, Foodie Booty Reaction Channel. So what we do here is we don't just take the whole mess wholesale and run it again. We get together. Look, I'm doing this live. Look at this. Look, I got people all over the place. We get together. We comment on what's going on. We stop the footage. We add other stuff. I do funny, silly voices. So we transformed the heck out of it. And the first two that got hit was Nader makes a lamb heart, and I put all kinds of funny stuff in there and extra graphics. I transformed the heck out of it. And the other one was he makes moussaka and sings, and I make fun of his stupid singing. And the other one that was hit, the third one, the same stuff. Funny voices, graphics, it's transformed. And you guys won't even tell me what the footage is because it says I can email for more information on that. So I don't even know what we're talking about there. It's all transformative. That's what we do here. It's not the Foodie Booty run the footage all over again. It's not the Foodie Booty archive. We react with myself and other people. See the other people? Look, this is live. There's 34 people in my live chat right now. Look at that. Okay, well, I don't want to get distracted because, Team YouTube might have a short attention span. And, you might just, look, squirrel. Sorry, it's unclear to us what you're talking about. We can't forward anything.
Basically, they're asking if you added new expression or meaning to the original work, or if it basically copies the original. For example, in the US, content that might be considered fair use includes commentary, criticism, or news reporting.
Well, it's not news reporting, although it could be argued. It certainly is commentary and criticism. Look. Here's some commentary. Here's some criticism of YouTube. Well, if they can't determine copyright, how can they deny? I don't know. So there's some there's some commentary and criticism happening around here. We don't just take the stuff and archive it and run it a second time. That's not what we do. You might notice that I'm wearing a getup and I got a funny background and a funny title. Did you notice all them things? Yeah. And remember, Yaba and French Fried Girl do some wacky stuff too. Everybody's allowed to have reactions to this stuff. It's just that if you tell the truth about it, you get in trouble. It almost looks like you have somebody on the inside, on Chantel's side, because when Chantal had her channel yeeted for luring teens into one of her live streams, and one of them exposed himself, she immediately started up another channel. She called it the Beezer Show, and with it she did a title called Office Pizza with Carmen Pondieu. Yeah, she made fun of 9/11, and guess what? It's still monetized to this very day. Yeah. Yeah, you guys think it's funny making fun. I don't. I made a video called Foodie Beauty Mocks 9/11 again, and you age restricted it and demonetized it. So I don't know, Sari, are you the one that Chantel Natter's got on the inside? I'm just asking questions. I'm not making a statement. Just asking a question. That's all. So yeah, we have some commentary and criticism here, just like French Fried Girl and Yab and all the others. We just call it for what it is around here. We're sort of like talk about the truth here. Let's keep playing your video.
Also, keep in mind that just because you say something's fair use, give credit to the copyright owner, or add a disclaimer like no infringement intended, it does not mean that you're protected.
Oh, I know that. That's why I don't put the disclaimer at the top of what I do. I know that Just Saying does, when that little cow is up there, they put the disclaimer up. You don't have to, because it's already protected by laws in the United States and Canada. Your own policy upholds it. You can make fun of stuff. You can criticize. You can add commentary. So you don't have to put that there. That's why I don't put it there. It looks messy. Furthermore, putting it up there when you shouldn't. Let's say you're going to run the latest Spider-Man and you put that disclaimer. Sorry, this is fair use. That doesn't mean you get away with it. Also, if you want to be ridiculous and unreasonable and you want to run 95% of the latest Spider-Man movie, including the ending, and you put that little disclaimer up there, that doesn't protect it either. It's like, well, that was a movie review. Like I said, I didn't really like this Spider-Man movie, and so I ran 95% of it after there to sort of make my claim that I didn't like the movie. And yeah, I ran 95%. That's unreasonable. All right. So, well, thanks for letting us know about that. It's just I already understand it a hell of a lot more than you do, and Team YouTube. And I just hope that if we gather together and reason together, that we can come to a reasonable conclusion, and that you'll forward my counterclaim and stop telling me that it's unclear. We don't. I don't know. YouTube, you can watch your own video and you can listen to what I've got to share, and you can go to those links. Those links are helpful.
How is fair use determined by law? Determining fair use is never a cut and dry process. In the US, fair use can only be determined in court by a judge.
And in Canada, it can only be determined in a village by an elf. No, I'm kidding. It can only be determined by a wizard.
The judge...
No, I'm kidding about that too. We kind of got our own courts and a judge and everything, kind of, sort of.
We'll look at your case overall based on a few different factors. Here are a few things to keep in mind based on what the courts look at. You're less likely to qualify for fair use if your video merely copies someone else's and...
Ding! That's what I keep telling you guys. The copyright reporting system is meant to protect, like I still have a fondness for Batman and a few other superheroes. It's just Spider-Man never was my cup of tea. And there's always a new Spider-Man movie, so that's why I mention it, because I don't like Spider-Man all that much. I don't hate him. I just don't like him. I'm not going to spend $12 to go see the movie. I'm not going to, online spend $6 to rent it. So that's the example I use. And if you're just running the latest Spider-Man movie and you merely copy the movie and run it and want to get money and subscribers, then that's pretty unlikely to qualify for fair use. And that's not what we do here.
Adds nothing else. If you're trying to monetize your video, if you're using fictional copyrighted material rather than factual material, if you borrowed a large amount of material rather than a small portion, if the main focus of your video is the copyright protected material, or if your use of the material harms the copyright owner's ability to profit from their original work.
No. This doesn't infringe upon Chantel or Natter's ability to sit around in the middle of the night for 6 hours when we're not on and smoke cigarettes in Natter's case, or just to smoke marijuana in Chantel's case. By the way, that wouldn't be my idea of a monetized channel, Team YouTube. It's like, how do you sell a Ford F-150 or a new hamburger from McDonald's over top of a channel that's always abusing drugs? Anyway, that's up to you. And no, we don't infringe upon Chantel and Natter's ability to do drugs and cigarettes and scream at each other morning, noon, and night and make their money from it. We don't infringe upon their ability to do that at all. They can still keep doing that.
So, All of these are helpful factors to consider when thinking about fair use. But also keep in mind, there is no guarantee that you'll qualify for fair use just because you take these factors into account. For example, just because you don't monetize your video, or if you only use a small portion of the copyrighted material, that does not mean you automatically qualify for fair use. Again, the courts look at everything holistically, and there's always a risk involved when using someone else's copyrighted work. Think carefully about all of these factors and get legal advice if needed. Companies are claiming just a few seconds of a video. How is that not abuse? One of the biggest myths about fair use is that there's a minimum amount of time you're allowed to use someone else's copyrighted work. But despite what some people may think, there is no duration in which you can use someone else's content that is automatically protected under fair use. In fact, courts have rejected fair use arguments for songs that only sample a few seconds of someone else's work. So if you're using any amount of
Yes, you're talking about music now. Chantel isn't a musician. Natter's not a musician. They don't have published, registered music, haven't been completed, offered for sale. So this portion here doesn't really apply. Yeah, Sari's talking about music here. That's okay.
Content that you don't own, even a few seconds, you're taking a risk of receiving a claim or a takedown. You have the right to argue fair use, but only courts, not YouTube, can ultimately decide whether the use of someone else's content is
great. Thanks, Sari. So after I'm done with this live reaction, I'm going to write up again the counterclaim, and I'm going to send it, and I say, because you're having such a problem with the clarity of what I'm trying to say, that go to this video. You'll have links, you'll have YouTube's own videos and my helpful instructions here, and hopefully you look at all of it and you won't go, it's unclear what you're trying to say. We don't know. No, just send it off to Natter or Chantel. Whoever's accounted, send it off, and we'll wait for them to put together a lawsuit that somehow flies in the face of fair dealing law in Canada, which they're not going to do. So then we can just reinstate the videos and get this over with. Did I mention I've been paying for YouTube Premium for years? Was that mentioned?
Protected under fair use. Because of this, our approach has been to empower creators to remove claimed content whenever possible if they feel that it isn't adding significant value to their video. That's why we've built tools to help you easily identify the content being claimed in your video and remove or swap out claimed music with copyright-safe tracks from the free YouTube audio library.
Yeah, she's talking about music again. Thanks, Sari. You're talking about music here. It doesn't really apply. Anyway, thanks for sharing. I mean, I guess you want to cover all the bases.
We're also now requiring claimants to add timestamps to these claims so you know exactly which piece of your video is being claimed. We've also updated our editing tools so that when you remove the content manually claimed in your video, the claim is automatically released, restoring monetization to your video if you were previously monetizing. Why does my content, which is clearly fair use, keep getting claimed by Content ID? Automated systems like Content ID can't determine fair use.
I've had experience with those things because, every now and then when Chantel moves like 4 inches, I'll put it on a loop. And then I'll run this iMovie track called Neon. And I say, look, Chantel, she's exercising. And there's somebody out there, some dipstick that has a song that has that in the background. So somebody actually published an original work with Neon playing in the background. And every now and then I get hit by that. And I send back, I say, this is like a tool to be used on iMovie. It's 10 years old. So of course, those don't create copyright takedown things. That just means like, well, you can't monetize, have to pay to this art. Anyway, it's a long, boring story. It's not like having a copyright strike. I'm familiar with it, Sari. Thanks.
Which is a subjective, case-by-case decision that can only be made by a court. While YouTube can't arbitrate fair use disputes, and automated systems like Content ID can account for fair use, this doesn't mean that fair use can't exist on YouTube. If you're a creator, you should avoid relying on fair use unless you understand how the rules work.
Oh, believe me, I understand them. I've read a lot, and I'm willing to accept any claim from Natter or Chantel. Let me worry about that, okay? You just forward the stuff because you said that YouTube doesn't determine fair use. A court does. Let them bring it.
And you're prepared to defend your position through the Content ID dispute process and potentially the counter notification process.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do here. That's what I'm trying to do, the counter notification. And I keep getting from you, I just want to get it verbatim. I keep getting, thank you for your counter notification. Unfortunately, it's unclear to us whether you have a valid reason for filing counter. So now, hopefully it's clear. We still have a little bit more of your video to play. It's just that when you mentioned the counter notification process, I'm not having success with it. And so maybe we can all gather. As I said before, I don't, I repeat myself sometimes. I'm sorry. Let's just play your video. Sorry.
This forces the claimant to withdraw or to file a lawsuit.
Yeah, it would if you would forward the counter notification, my dear.
This isn't a decision that should be taken lightly or without legal advice, but it is the most powerful step you can take if you want to pursue a fair use defense, and will force the most thoughtful review from the claimant. And that's it for fair use. Check out more info in our help center, linked in the description below.
And you check out those links, the Canadian Copyright Act and the fair dealing thing. They're all there, and they're all real too.
Be sure to check out the other videos in our copyright series, linked here. Bye.
Bye. Bye. All right, that's great. Okay, guys. I just want to get that across to YouTube, and that's it. That's it, because I don't want to tax their patience by having to watch anymore. Thanks for coming by for this one, and take care.